The Defense Innovation Unit is celebrating its 5th birthday. DIU reports a total of 208 other transaction authorities in its 5-year history, and 40% of its contracts have gone to production. Deborah Lee James is the 23rd Secretary of the Air Force. She's author of Aim High, Chart Your Course, and Find Success. Madam Secretary, it's great to see you again. Thanks for coming back. What is your assessment of DIU in the value that it's added to the department in the 5 years that it's existed now?
Well, I think DIU has been a great success. It's very hard to move a culture, to change a way of doing business in a big bureaucracy like DOD. And I think DIU has made an important difference, really in 3 ways, I would say. First of all, they've done a great job of raising awareness across the board, just to the degree that these commercial innovations are out there in the private sector. It has opened many eyes in DOD that previously were just simply unaware, particularly in hubs like the Silicon Valley, Boston, Washington State, and Austin, Texas. So they've made great strides in raising awareness, and they've made DoD contracting more accessible to small businesses that otherwise would have never been willing to share their commercial technologies with DoD. The second way is they've raised awareness, and I think they've actually led training efforts in some cases on the use of other transaction authorities. So this is the more rapid authority that can be used for prototyping. You can get a company under contract in a matter of a couple of months. And this has been something that's been around for years, but the use of these OTAs has exploded in recent years, and I give DIU a lot of credit for that. And then third, the real measure of success, the ultimate measure of success, 30 years from now, we'll look back and we'll say how many programs actually did transition from the prototype stage into programs of record and scale to be impactful in the military. I think they've had a very solid start in that regard as well.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Secretary, but those are 3 major areas that Secretary Carter emphasized and wanted to see DIU undertake and propagate throughout the department when he stood it up in 2015.
No, that's right. So his original vision, his original strategy, I think was very clear, and it was to tap into both the investment and the speed of advances within the commercial technology industry and to bring those benefits specifically to DoD. So that was the original vision and strategy. What has evolved over time, though, interestingly, is the tactics. It's the how to achieve that vision that has evolved. So if you go back, and I was there at the birth of DIUX, as it was known in the first couple of years, it was only stationed, it was a small team only in the Silicon Valley. It had no budget unto itself, and it had no contracting authority unto itself. And I suppose, not surprisingly, as we look back, it struggled for all of those reasons. But gradually over time, it expanded out into other areas. The team grew, new disciplines were added to the team, there was new leadership put in at DIU, and also they obtained their own budget and their own contracting authority. So suddenly they've become more popular with the military services because the military services now get to use other people's money and other people's contracting authority so that they can test things out without a great deal of financial commitment or effort. So the how, the tactics have evolved over time, I think, to a very successful degree, but the vision remains the same and very strong.
The phrase that you used in all of your description about what you see as DIU has evolved that I think is the most compelling, Madam Secretary, is changing culture. I think everybody that's watching this program understands the difficulty of doing that in an enterprise like the Department of Defense. What do you attribute that success to, that DIU, given all of those challenges they had at the beginning that you just described, have been able to change culture inside the DoD?
Well, and I would say it's still a work in progress. I wouldn't say that the culture is fully changed, but again, having your own budget, having your own contracting authority, having your own people who can work some of these deals on behalf of the military departments, it helps a great deal. And the key challenge still remains, and this is the one where in the future, I think as DIU continues to evolve, they need to continue to work on, is they need to do everything within their power to address the so-called valley of death. So this is, the phrase that's been used over time to describe the period in between a new idea or a prototype, and there's usually a couple of years worth of a lag between a successful prototype proving itself out in the prototype world and actually making it into a program of record. It takes a couple of years because, budgets are done a couple of years in advance, and the military services have to become convinced of things, and appropriations have to be requested, and so on. So there's usually a bit of a lag. Small companies can't hold on for a couple of years waiting for additional funding to come. So it's that critical couple of year period called the Valley of Death that we need to bridge. And I do hope that DIU will continue to work on that. Getting monies specifically to be able to address that couple of year period will be important. And with their ongoing success, the culture will continue to change.
Madam Secretary, with budgets shrinking all across the department, has DIU demonstrated the return on investment that you think it needs to protect itself from getting its budget cut?
I think the answer, Frank, yes. I think it has demonstrated a good return on investment. Again, we're only 5 years in, which isn't that long when you're talking about changing a large bureaucracy, a large culture like exists in DOD, but it has survived now over the course of, this is the third administration that it will have existed. The X for DIU X experimental came off in 2018, so it was now considered to be a program that will be here to stay. And Congress has plussed it up in a number of important ways. So I think it's catching on. I think it's going to continue to get better and better. And again, I do think it is here to stay. It has also spawned, I'll say, a cottage industry across the department of innovation labs and innovation focal points. So innovation is definitely in. And again, I think it's here to stay.
Madam Secretary, thanks very much for joining me today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Francis.